In the peaceful suburb of Mady, Louisiana, a tragic affair led to the shocking death of 18-year-old Brian Taylor. A senior at East Jefferson High School, Brian was a gifted student with a passion for auto mechanics, dreaming of opening his own repair shop. He lived with his blind grandmother, Mabel, whom he cared for with remarkable maturity, balancing school, work, and family responsibilities without complaint. For 2 years, Brian dated Lisa Grant, a bright and ambitious girl with plans for their future together. However, beneath this seemingly perfect surface, Brian harbored a dark secret. He was having an affair with Lisa's mother, 43-year-old Pamela Gerard. Pamela, who ran a successful multi-level marketing business, had a complicated relationship with Lisa, often vying for attention. This secret affair spiraled into a dangerous obsession that would have devastating consequences. On the morning of August 12, 2021, Mabel sensed something was wrong when she noticed Brian hadn't moved around the house. Concerned, she called her neighbor, Mrs. Alice Dupree, for help. Upon entering Brian's bedroom, Alice was met with a horrific sight. Brian's lifeless body lay in a pool of blood, multiple stab wounds marring his young form. The kitchen knife, stained with blood, lay beside him. The Medy Police Department, led by Detective Michael Duval and Officer Renee Martinez, quickly arrived on the scene. The brutality of the attack suggested it was deeply personal, pointing to a crime of passion. As they documented the evidence, they noted the stark contrast between the chaos in Brian's room and the untouched living room where Mabel sat, blissfully unaware. Detective Duval immediately focused on Pamela Gerard. Her reputation for beauty and success masked a deeper rivalry with her daughter, culminating in a dangerous affair with Brian. When questioned, Pamela appeared shaken but maintained a facade of composure, a nervous flicker in her eyes revealing the tension behind her calm exterior. Pamela Gerard initially downplayed her connection to Brian, referring to him only as "my daughter's boyfriend." However, as the interrogation intensified, her polished facade began to crumble. When Detective Duval pressed her about the affair, Pamela's demeanor shifted dramatically. At first, she denied everything, but when confronted with incriminating evidence, she broke down in tears, exclaiming, "He was my angel." Her voice cracked as she desperately insisted, "I swear to God I would never hurt him." Despite her emotional outburst, Detective Duval remained unconvinced. Pamela's obsessive nature toward Brian and her intense jealousy of her daughter painted her as a prime suspect. The second person of interest was Lisa Grant, Pamela's 18-year-old daughter and Brian's girlfriend. Lisa had just graduated high school in June 2021 and looked forward to starting college at the University of New Orleans to study business administration. Described by friends and family as sweet-natured, Lisa often felt overshadowed by her mother's domineering personality. She and Brian had been together for 2 years and had even discussed marriage, a prospect that thrilled both families in their conservative Southern community. But when Lisa discovered her mother's affair with Brian, her world shattered. Heartbroken and consumed by rage, she firmly denied any involvement in Brian's death. During questioning, Lisa appeared emotionally drained, dressed in jeans and a simple t-shirt. She seemed almost childlike in her grief as Detective Duval and Officer Martinez gently asked her to recount her relationship with Brian and how she learned of the affair. Tears filled her eyes as she recalled stumbling upon sexually explicit text messages between her mother and Brian just days before his murder. The revelation led to a huge argument, but Lisa claimed she wanted to move past it. "I loved Brian, and I didn't want to lose him," she whispered, her voice barely audible. However, when asked about her whereabouts on the night of the murder, Lisa's story became murky. She insisted she had been sleeping over at her friend Taylor's house, just a few blocks from Brian's home, but struggled to recall specific details of the night. When detectives questioned Taylor, she confirmed that Lisa had been at her house but noted that Lisa left around midnight, just hours before the estimated time of Brian's murder. As the interrogation continued, Lisa's demeanor shifted from sorrowful to defensive. "I would never hurt him," she repeated, though her trembling hands betrayed her anxiety. When shown the explicit messages, she broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Her pain seemed genuine, yet it raised suspicions. Was she mourning Brian's loss, or was there something more hidden beneath her grief? The third person of interest was Robert Gerard, Lisa's father and Pamela's husband. At 47, Robert was a well-known attorney in Medy, respected for his legal skills but notorious for his frequent absences due to his demanding job. He cared deeply about maintaining a perfect family image, even if it meant ignoring underlying issues. Although he wasn't oblivious to the tension between Pamela and Lisa, Robert chose to turn a blind eye, hoping the situation would resolve itself. When the police called him in for questioning, Robert arrived composed, dressed in a crisp white shirt and tie. He described his marriage to Pamela as complicated, insisting they had a strong bond. However, when the topic shifted to Brian and the affair, Robert's demeanor stiffened. He clenched his jaw and avoided eye contact, clearly uncomfortable. He claimed he had no knowledge of the affair until after Brian's death, adding, "If I had known, I would have stopped it immediately." When questioned about his whereabouts the night of the murder, Robert stated he had been working late in his office, providing names of colleagues to vouch for his alibi. Yet, his defensiveness and reluctance to discuss the affair left detectives uneasy. On a blistering afternoon in mid-August 2021, the investigation took a dramatic turn when Detective Duvall received an anonymous call with vital information about Pamela Gerard, hinting at something far darker than just an affair. The detectives wasted no time and drove to Pamela's office, Beauty Buys, where they discovered evidence that would escalate the investigation. Inside, they found disturbing photographs of Brian and an altar dedicated to him. Additionally, documents revealed that her business was a scam targeting vulnerable women, exploiting them financially. With this newfound evidence, detectives had a clearer picture of Pamela, a woman driven to protect her secrets at any cost. Finally, on August 21, 2021, after compiling their findings, the Medi police were ready to take action. They arrested Pamela Gerard for the murder of Brian Taylor. The investigation had uncovered that Pamela's obsession had spiraled into a violent act fueled by jealousy and a desperate need to maintain control. As the detectives arrived at her home, they found Pamela still in her silk pajamas, clearly unprepared for the imminent confrontation. When they informed her of the arrest, it marked a tragic end to a story fueled by betrayal and obsession, leaving the community of Medi reeling from the shocking events that had unfolded. In the peaceful town of Albany, Georgia. The sudden disappearance of 20-year-old Isaiah Parker sent shockwaves through the community. He vanished after a late-night movie with his girlfriend, Danielle Carter, leaving her frantic with worry. When Isaiah's abandoned car was discovered on a lonely stretch of road, concern turned into dread, prompting police involvement. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that Isaiah's disappearance was tied to disturbing secrets within Danielle's family, particularly involving her mother, 43-year-old Patrice Carter. To the outside world, Patrice was a devoted wife and mother, living a seemingly perfect life with her husband, Aaron, a successful building contractor. However, beneath this facade, Patrice felt increasingly trapped in a monotonous routine, craving excitement and affection. Isaiah, a charming young man full of dreams, quickly became the object of Patrice's infatuation as he spent more time with their family. Initially harmless admiration transformed into a dangerous obsession. Patrice found herself increasingly drawn to Isaiah's energy and ambition, which contrasted sharply with her stagnant marriage. What started as flirtatious compliments soon escalated into a secret affair. Caught in a web of deception, Isaiah struggled to balance his relationship with Danielle and his illicit connection with her mother. The pressure intensified and guilt consumed him. Determined to end things, he agreed to meet Patrice one last time at an abandoned cabin. That meeting never took place. The next morning, Danielle faced the reality that something was terribly wrong. As police searched for answers, Danielle's instincts told her that her mother was hiding something. Patrice's erratic behavior and evasiveness deepened her suspicions, straining their once close bond. As days turned into weeks, the investigation revealed the shocking truth about Patrice's obsession and the lengths she would go to protect it. Meanwhile, Danielle struggled with the fear of losing Isaiah and the growing distance from her mother. The dynamic shifted from mother-daughter closeness to suspicion and betrayal. When the investigation concluded, the community was left reeling. Isaiah's tragic fate served as a grim reminder of the dark consequences of unchecked desire. The Carters' seemingly perfect life crumbled, exposing hidden truths and leaving deep emotional scars. In the aftermath, Danielle sought to escape her painful memories, but the impact of betrayal haunted her. Patrice's secret would forever alter the lives of everyone involved, a stark reminder of how a single moment of weakness can unravel a life and shatter a family. Isaiah loved Danielle but found himself trapped in an affair with her mother, Patrice. As their illicit relationship spiraled out of control, Isaiah struggled to break free from Patrice's manipulative hold. Each time he tried to end things, she would lure him back with emotional pleas, intensifying his guilt and conflict. One night, determined to put an end to the affair, Isaiah met Patrice at their usual spot, a secluded cabin. But Patrice, desperate and frantic, insisted he couldn't leave her. Their confrontation turned heated, and in a moment of rage, Patrice struck Isaiah, resulting in his death. Panicked, she buried him in the woods, hoping to conceal her crime. Back home, Danielle sensed something was wrong when Isaiah didn't return. As the police investigation stalled, her mother's increasingly odd behavior raised her suspicions. One afternoon, she searched Patrice's belongings and discovered incriminating text messages between her mother and Isaiah. When detectives finally called, they revealed Isaiah's body had been found. The shocking news shattered Danielle's world, unveiling a betrayal she never imagined possible. As the investigation unfolded, evidence pointed to Patrice's guilt. Security footage showed her car near the crime scene, and blood was found in the cabin. During Patrice's trial, the prosecutor painted her as a woman driven by jealousy and obsession. Despite the defense's claims that Isaiah's death was accidental, Patrice's confession sealed her fate. After 3 tense days of deliberation, the jury found her guilty of second-degree murder, sentencing her to life in prison with the possibility of parole. After 25 years, Danielle faced the bittersweet reality of justice served for Isaiah, yet the cost was her family. The mother she once loved was now a convicted murderer, and her life would never be the same. From everything that had unfolded over the past year, Danielle had lost Isaiah, her mother, and the sense of safety she once took for granted. Despite the overwhelming grief, a small flicker of strength began to grow within her. She had survived the worst, and now she needed to find a way to move forward. Isaiah's death had left an irreplaceable void in her heart, one that could never truly be filled. Yet Danielle vowed to honor his memory by living her life with the same kindness and integrity that had made Isaiah so special. As she walked out of the courthouse, the warm sunlight hit her face, offering a brief moment of comfort amidst the pain. She knew this was the start of a new chapter in her life, one marked by loss but also resilience. Somewhere deep in her heart, she hoped that Isaiah had finally found peace, even if the world around her never would. Their lives had been intertwined by a mix of love, rivalry, and jealousy since childhood. Cassandra, the elder sister, was always the family's shining star, beautiful, accomplished, and married to Dominic Blunt, a successful architect. Their seemingly perfect marriage made them the envy of their small town, Mill Haven. Growing up in a modest household, their differences became starkly apparent. Cassandra was calm and gentle, excelling academically and easily fitting into social circles. In contrast, Jessica was a whirlwind of energy, her rebellious streak often overshadowing her intelligence. While Cassandra pursued education, Jessica drifted between majors, her manipulative side starting to show as she navigated intense but fleeting relationships. When Cassandra returned to Mill Haven after college, she caught Dominic's attention during a project to restore the town's historic lighthouse. Their passionate courtship culminated in a fairy tale wedding, but soon the cracks in their marriage began to show. As Cassandra struggled with feelings of unfulfillment, Jessica returned home, seeking refuge from her own failures. Welcomed with open arms, Jessica's arrival shifted the family dynamics in unpredictable ways. Initially, her presence invigorated Cassandra and Dominic's relationship. But as time passed, Jessica's true intentions surfaced. She began to linger on Dominic just a little too long, her innocent touches becoming frequent and intentional. Despite his love for Cassandra, Dominic found himself drawn to Jessica's unpredictable nature, igniting a forbidden attraction. One fateful evening, while Cassandra was out, Jessica arranged a seemingly innocent dinner that spiraled into a passionate kiss, shattering Dominic's resistance. What began as a moment of weakness quickly escalated into a full-blown affair, transforming their lives and tearing apart the bonds of sisterhood. As Jessica reveled in her victory, the town of Mill Haven remained oblivious to the dark secrets brewing within its seemingly perfect facade. As Jessica and Dominic's reckless affair intensified, they began meeting in public places, their need for each other overpowering their caution. Close calls, like a neighbor nearly catching them in an embrace and a colleague spotting them dining together, only fueled their excitement. However, as months passed, Dominic felt the weight of guilt pressing down on him. impacting his work and relationships. He questioned whether their passionate romance was worth the destruction of his life with Cassandra. Sensing Dominic's inner turmoil, Jessica became more demanding, manipulating his guilt and desires to keep him tethered to her. Unbeknownst to them, Cassandra was slowly uncovering the painful truth. At first, the signs were subtle: and unfamiliar perfume on Dominic's clothes, hushed phone calls that ceased when she entered the room, and an emotional distance growing between them. Cassandra, ever the optimist, brushed these off as stress or a midlife crisis, but her gut told her something was wrong. As she tried to bridge the gap with romantic dinners and weekend getaways, her efforts were met with indifference. Ironically, she confided in Jessica for support, unaware of the betrayal lurking beneath. But Cassandra's suspicions grew as she noticed inconsistencies in Dominic's stories and Jessica's lingering gaze on him. One fateful day, while doing laundry, she discovered a matchbook from a hotel, evidence of her worst fears. Torn between confronting them or living in denial, Cassandra's anxiety escalated. She resolved to confront them separately, unaware this choice would unleash a devastating chain of events. The day of reckoning arrived on a stormy afternoon. Cassandra stood in the living room, heart racing. As Dominic entered. "We need to talk," she began, trembling. "I know about you and Jessica." The blood drained from Dominic's face. "How long have you been sleeping with my sister?" she demanded. As he slumped, defeated, her anguish spilled forth in accusations. At that moment, Jessica walked in, freezing in shock. In a blur of emotions, a vase shattered against the wall, and Jessica and Dominic exchanged helpless glances before exiting, leaving Cassandra to crumble on the sofa, her life in ruins. Consumed by heartbreak, she sought solace in a bar, drinking until a dark resolve formed in her mind, a choice that would lead to tragic consequences.